Welcome. I know I'm excited to be here. I almost didn't make it. I heard there's a Steam sale going on, so I was like, I'm staying home. But no, it's not till next week. But anyways, I'm here to talk to you about something I call the Zen of Pen Testing. And I'll just do a quick introduction. I'm a hot mic. Easy to go by Dr. Mike, but I'm just Mike Libassi. I'm a professor at Sinclair. I teach, of course, cybersecurity, forensics, among other things. And so I won't go full my history. I'll just say my first gig in IT was software testing, and my first task was Y2K testing. So that probably dates me a little bit, along with the gray hair I got here. In any case, we'll move on here. So you might ask yourself, why is there an academic talking at a hacking conference? This is not what we see on stage, right? And I gotta admit, yes, imposter syndrome can be there a lot, because you always feel, should I be talking about pen testing to either a crowd of professionals or soon-to-be professionals? But because of the topic itself and where I'm coming from, it gave me a unique view on this philosophy, which I'm gonna bring to you. So yes, I'm not that cool, but I'll try to do my best. So first off, again, like any good professor, we're gonna talk about definitions. But I'm not going to read the slide to you. I'm just going to pick out a couple key things here. Talk about Zen. What is Zen? Well, actions are guided by intuition. That's an important aspect there. So one's actions are guided by intuition. And of course, I don't really have to explain what pen testing is, do I? I think this is a crowd. I don't need to explain it. But of course, there is a thing in the definition here from the NIST definition, which was working under specific constraints in an attempt to, of course, circumvent or defeat your target. So what we find is this. There's this calm versus chaos, right? You get this, try to be guided by your intuition, but yet you're working under constraints, and it can be a little chaotic. Also, how many people have actually done some pen testing here? Good crowd of pen testers. Anyone want to get into pen testing? Looking to get into cybersecurity? Okay, good. Well, hopefully this goes for both here. So you're going to think, well, pen testing, Mike, it's not that bad. It's not like this, but it's not all the time, too. It's going to depend. Every engagement is unique. Every target is unique. Sometimes it's almost like a simple vulnerability scan. And there's times, you feel like, So I don't want to come out saying pen testing is it's total chaos, but it can be, So I'm bringing these together, and this is my definition here. I'm calling this my Zen of Pen, pen testing. So I'm just going to say finding ways to use your intuition, your calmness, while you're trying to go through these constraints and chaos to get to your target, right, to get your objective. And so I'm here to talk about this. I also want to talk about where it came from. And I think it's some unique things that I come across with it, where I got the idea from for this. That's what we'll talk about next. See, I'm ahead of my slides. Good thing about going in before lunch is if I end early, no one really minds, do they? So where did it come from? So it's about learning in labs. So this is where my academic side had me reflect upon this. So in 2019, I was tasked to create a class at Sinclair. It's called Pen Test. It's a class on pen testing. I'm very excited to do this. For those of you, I think I see a fellow student in the audience there. I love teaching. I love helping people reach their goals. So I was definitely excited for this. I do have about 8 years of pen testing experience. Last 5 of that, though, has been sort of part-time, as I've been full-time professor. But I have the background for it. I have some SANS, certs, and so on. And I want to come to this. I'm just really excited. I'm using these online labs, these certified ethical hacker labs. Which are great. I'm going to talk about this in a second here. But I wanted something larger, right? I want like a big project, something that all the classes has to do. And so we use something called net labs. And you ever experience with any kind of online labs, NDG labs? Yeah, about just to capture the flag labs and stuff. And they're great, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge proponent of net labs. I love them. They're great for an environment to learn in. Chance for you to exercise these tools. You get consistent results, which actually is a problem. I'll talk about that in a second. But there's no lab setup. So you need a web browser to access these. And as an academic, this is fantastic. Everyone from all walks of life, Chromebook to a high-end gaming system, can run these labs and learn. And so these are the labs I brought in. It's NDG Ethical Hacking Labs. Again, laid out, fantastic. Great way to learn these techniques, social engineering, Metasploit, things like that. And we go through all these labs definitely each week. These labs have a full topology online. You have a full environment. There's no fear of, I'm going to break something. And they're step by step. So here we see one of the examples running Nikto, which is a great tool, by the way. I love Nikto. But here lies a problem here. And that is, I find some people just run the lab and not really sure. It's great. You see the result. You run this. You should see this. OK, I did it. And if you read into the lab, you figure out why you did it. But this is not what you see in real life sometimes. There's some things here that are missing from this sort of curated environment. Again, they're great. But there's some stuff that's missing here. Set up your own system, patching, running your own tools sometimes. You get different results. And there's this general chaos sometimes I've noticed. I'll tell you where I've sort of noticed this with my own experience. I'm sure many of you who have done testing before also have had an experience like this too. So I also invite you to share your thoughts with me either after the talk or during the question phase. So let's brought some issues here. I call this the lab effect. And it's something I'm still dealing with, this lab effect. Again, you get this sort of spoon-fed environment. And I want to incorporate something different when I made this class. So I said, OK, I see this lab effect. I'm seeing it in other classes I teach, a Security Plus class and Linux class and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I want to sort of counter this. I want something that's more live. Well, shoot, how am I going to do this? I don't want to make a VM and push it out. Sometimes some folks don't have the proper resources. I'm dealing with students of all walks of life. Not all of them have high-end machines that can run several VMs. Of course, they can get into the VMs. If they're online students, I'm going to push on a VM. It just, a lot of issues there, right? Do I want to give them maybe a Metasploitable 2 system to use? And it has to set their own Kali, for example. Do I want to ask the college to host the system? Hey, all right, that's not going to work well. Hey, IT, will you host an insecure server for me? How about no on that one, right? So yeah, I mean, it's obvious. And then, of course, there's going to be cost to the cost behind that and things like that. So third-party labs, OK, Vuln Hubs, Seed Labs, et cetera. Again, still almost back to where I was before, though. Maybe some sort of capture the flag lab. That might be good. Offer a little more of a challenge. Again, I want an overarching project. And then, man, I had an idea. That will also counter this, too, by the way. I call this the Chegg effect. Anything that's online, you can find a walkthrough for. So I want something that's hasn't been done before. I said, well, you know what? I'm not sure I'm doing here. I'm just going to Google it and find, oh, yeah, someone already did that capture the flag. OK, I need to run this, this, and this. But I want those points, right? I want to pass the class. And you lose a bit of learning there. So I had an idea. And this is like, oh, man, this came into me. And I was excited. I'm running around, talking to the department chair. I'm using HackerOne. You guys know what HackerOne is? I'm sure you've probably seen it before. The bug bounty. I said, yeah, I want to bring something into the class. I talked to the person at HackerOne. I talked to the college. There's a possibility you could get paid, right? You could get a bug bounty. He goes, is there an issue if a student gets paid from doing a lab in my class? And the college is like, as long as we're not paying them, it's all right. HackerOne's like, no one's ever done this before. You want to bring this into your course? I'm like, yes, I want to bring you into the course. And they're like, that's pretty cool. I go, is there no issue with that? They go, no, of course, they don't mind. That's more people, right? So I thought, I'm going to create a lot. And there's some benefits here again. No college hosting costs, no having to beg IT. Can you host an insecure server? I didn't even ask that because I already know the answer to that one. No upkeep. So if I created my own in-house server, it's something that Mike set up. He's not here right now. It has a bug. It's not working, right? Of course, what online students? They need to access that server. They're remote. So there's none of that IT hosting. No shared answers. You're running a live pen test as part of your project. So yeah, it's fine. You go against PayPal. There's no live answers. There's other vulnerabilities found you can see, which we do as professionals. We look at other people's findings. And real life experience, you leave my class with a resume item. give interview items. So yeah, I actually did a bug bounty. Maybe you found a bug. And that, that comes across like, wow, so you took a class on it. So again, I kept this, and I kept the weekly NDG labs, worked the tools, understand they work, and as you go through the course, start involving those tools against your target. And this is where I really reflected upon this sort of Zen philosophy about the chaos that happens. So, by putting in the course, just real quick here, see why I throw it in here. I have them do pick their target week 1, pick their bounty, pick their target, right? Do their own contract, something you don't miss in labs. We do all kinds of capture the flag labs, right? All kinds of online labs. Run this tool, find this result. What about making a contract? So this is going to help prepare them for these sort of administrative duties as a pen tester you might have to undertake. Collect their notes. Come back to notes in a second, so I'll move past this here. Create a report. Something also CTFs and stuff don't do. You got to create that report, so I have them do that. So I incorporate into the class, and the results were great. And this is where I actually penned this down. This is actually, yes, my iPad notes here. I was like, man, I'm seeing something here that I've seen, I felt myself, I dealt with myself, but I'm seeing it reflected back to my students. That's why I said before, I felt weird coming here as an academic to talk to a room full of professionals, but I think it's because where I'm coming from, I've noticed this. And that's this sort of thing goes on, like students are like, what do I start? I have PayPal in front of me. What do I do? Where do I start? I saw this tool. I got this weird error. Getting weird stuff going on here, right? When do I go? When do I move to the next phase? It's never so clear cut, is it? For those who have done this, it can be a little, and this is that chaos, a seed of chaos that's introduced. I had one student pick the bounty for the U.S. Postal Service. And he was like, I don't want to run an Nmap scan against him. I'm like, why not? He's like, want to get in trouble? Like, I don't want helicopters flying down picking me up. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. It's like, yeah, you better run Nmap. And I was like, no, it's like, they put it out. Just, stay within your scope of work, your rules of engagement that you put in your contract, and you'll be all right. How deep do you chase the vulnerabilities? I've had some people get locked down and get that narrow sight. So these are things I think we've all encountered, not maybe in some pen testing, security, scanning, maybe just work in general. So I'm going to reflect upon these in my sort of Zen philosophy to help myself and help you hopefully step back and realize how you can use this. False positives, errors. There's no lab I've seen for false positives. There's no lab that deals with errors. If I get an error, it's like, professor, I got an error in the lab. All right, well, you're not supposed to get that, right? Labs are supposed to be, you run the result, you run this tool, you get this result. So this is missing from this, and this introduces that, definitely. So, and a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot of stuff here. So we'll breathe in, we'll breathe out, we'll look at the Zen here. We'll look at these little pieces of the philosophy. And first of all, again, I may mention this before, who's this for? I mean, if you're an experienced pen tester, you're like, oh yeah, you nod your head, yeah, I felt that before, I've had that before. And chance you just to recognize some of these things. You can reflect upon it again, go, yeah, that's right. That crazy guy Mike talked about before. I need to make sure I keep that in mind when I'm doing this engagement, because it's a crazy engagement. I'm having all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Also, if you are mentoring somebody, which is great, we need people in our field, don't we? So mentor somebody. If you do bring this to them, say, you know what? Yeah, you ran that lab online, that's great, but there's some stuff you're going to encounter, you're going to be lost. I mentor some folks for a company here in Dayton. I mentor some current pen testers, and I sort of walk them through this at a time. So again, that's where I sort of brought this to mind as an actual thing we can talk about. And if you're new, just keep it in mind as you move into pen testing, security, security scanning, vulnerability scanning, things like that. Your labs you work, which are great. Don't discard labs. Working labs is great, but you might miss in something there. So keep this in mind if you do your first engagement. And again, this is that thing, I feel like I'm up here talking about this, and I'm like, why is this academic up here? This is what I've sort of discovered, what I've seen my students run into. I myself still do. I still do part-time work. And I would please share your experience with me. Put on Discord. You put like, oh man, I ran this engagement once and this happened. It was crazy. I found myself spending 4 hours looking at this thing. I didn't need to. And I think it's that shared experience, us as a community, that's going to help new people rise up and be successful. All right, so one of the first things, of course, is where do I start? Even if told, you might be uncertain. Start here. You're like, well, yeah, still though. Especially if you have a large target, right? A wide target. It's like, hey, here's your IP address range you need to scan into versus just a single server. So it could be a little intimidating. What's very important is to understand a flow. Have a workflow. Have something you can fall back on and reflect on. And you'll have your own. You would write your own out. You might sketch it, diagram it. As you become more experienced, you might change it. So understand your path. I'm going to talk a little Zen here. So find your path, travel your path. And so, for example, this is what I put up. I made this for what it's called a hacking team. I run a hacking club at Sinclair. I run something called Sticker Heist, by the way. If you're curious, stickerheist.com. Maybe I'll bring it to one of the capture the flag things here for you guys. It's a full-on IoT-based. You hack into a system, disable the alarm system, you get a laptop, a bunch of safe full laptop stickers. So been doing it. It's a lot of fun. It's hands-on, get that whole experience. Again, but I made this because I ended up diagramming this on the board when I do the hacking team. I was like, I need to actually just do this. Have something you can fall back on. Have something you can sort of just talk to. Go look at, okay, I'm here right now, I think, and I need to move here. So you're not sure where to start. Of course, you might be always start at recon. Recon, right? That's where it's at. The more time you spend at recon, usually the better engagement goes. But as you go through this, understand that, you might have a written down flow. I did a couple pen tests. I have a current one going on. I sort of know where I need to be, but this may change. New paths may open up. Things might change. It could be from external influences. It could be the scope of work could be changed on you, which hopefully doesn't happen, but it can. Can you scope creep? Can you please add this into your pen test? Oh, be careful of scope creep. So just be aware that this might change. This might not apply directly each time. And of course, time may dictate we need to be on this. I can spend forever at recon. I need to move forward. So we'll come back to time in a little bit here. Again, keep your scope in mind. If you get a little frazzled where you're at, which is funny because I found myself reconning once. I'm like, I think I found a 2 patches below email server. Spend like an hour on it. I go, wait a minute, that's not even the scope of work. I just burned like a couple hours trying to figure out, version number of this email server. And I was like, yeah, they need to be there, did I? So come back to your scope. So keep that scope on a rope. All right. So document your journey. This is so important. So I cannot say enough about keeping copious notes and screenshots. It can be a little tedious, but it's going to help you. We'll see later on. Also, it can help you think, wait a minute, did I do that? Did I scan that system down? Also, if I scan that system down once and I have results, I can miss-scan it again. Because if I'm trying to be stealthy, maybe my engagements are red team based, which I've done a couple of red team engagements, and you don't want to just keep scanning because you maybe forgot to copy the screen, copy the terminal output. Screen pics are great, especially later on. So keep notes somehow. And this is what I tell my class, I'm like, use whatever you want. OneNote, text editor. These are some of my pen tests I've had. I think I found this on my Mac. It's something I had for a long time. It's called like I forgot what it's called now. But it's Devon Note. But it works great. I can throw stuff inside there. I can put stuff inside there and so on. So I was going to keep screenshots, things like that. So have something in mind. And you might change. You might find something better. Also, share what you use. This is where if you're mentoring, say, hey, I use this tool, but maybe you can use OneNote or use something. Keeping organized in your notes is going to be helpful later on. So even though you're on your path, you feel pretty good. You have your scope in mind. You have your path laid against you. I know my target. I think I know my goal. That path may be a little rough. You may hit detours. You may be blocked at times. And it's something that the labs do not tell you. Pen testing is about failing. Labs, this is where the labs miss the mark, besides a few other things. The lab walks you through. You run the command, cool. Oh, I ran this. Oh, cool. I have root shell now. Wow, that's pretty easy. Yeah. Real life, you try something, it's not going to work. Oh, man. This will beat you down mentally. Like, I am not getting anywhere. Now, this is where I do capture the flag competitions are pretty good. I was at a SANS CTF, and I swear to God, I thought the only good job I was doing was getting everybody coffee. Like, I was like, this is like, is it the end of a certification thing? And I was like, and finally, I found a unpatched FTP server. I got in. So I went from like 0 to hero in no time. So it can be a little jolting. So keep this in mind. This is what it's about. But learning from what you failed, what you tried. This is where those notes come in handy too. I tried that before and it didn't work. So, and of course, false positives. Something labs don't keep you, don't really teach you in also, I think. A lot of labs don't do. CTFs also, maybe a little more curated. Beware of false positives. One time I ran an Nmap. I love Nmap, by the way, as you can tell. I ran a vol scan of Nmap using the vol scan feature. And one of the ports, one of the services came back without a service number. And of course, vol scan for some reason said, wow, here's a list of 20 CVEs against it. I was like, oh my God, I hit pay dirt. Look at these CVEs I can bounce against. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So understanding your tools might help with this. You go, oh yeah. Nmap didn't see the version number, so it just said, here's all the CVEs you can use. So again, I still went through like half before I figured this out. So I burned about an hour going through CVEs, looking it up, looking at the information. I'm like this is not matching. I'm not getting inspector results. So keep that in mind. You're going to get false positives here. And don't assume maybe you do have an exploit ready and it runs. Did it work? I always assume it doesn't work. Especially in kind of sample code. Maybe you're trying to actually detonate that exploit, get it to work so you can show some proof that it works, that there's actually an issue there. Again, especially using tools, concepts, things like that. So understanding your tools are very important here. And going back and understanding your basics. How's the tool working? What kind of calls is it making? That might help you realize where these false positives come from. And also, when you do pen test, not everything you're going to find is 0-day hair on fire. Woo! I got SQL. I think I only got a SQL injection twice. I've done like about 32 pen tests over the past years. And when I did, I was like amazed. You got to be kidding me. I'm actually in. I'm in, right? Think of any famous Hollywood hacker, right? I'm in. Not everything's going to be that way. You're going to find lows, information level stuff. You don't always get root shell. You don't always get to yell that I'm in. So that's okay. Keep that in mind. So this, along with the fact maybe you're going to fail a lot, can be very sort of downtrodden on your mind. You're like, oh, this is a tough job. It's not as easy as the lab showed me they were. So when you do, though, I always tell my class, I'm like, if you do get in, you get to get up and yell, I'm in. But that's just what we do, right? So info overload. Yes, this can happen. Tool output. Sometimes the lab's a very, very quiet environment. Right? Only 1 or 2 servers on there. They're running only certain services. Very curated environment. Sometimes you run some output and you're like, wow, that's a lot of stuff here, more than I thought. Unexpected results. These are all about the same as false positives, but they, so those sort of overlap there if you were to Venn diagram that. I think an example of that was I was running like a DIRBuster scan against a target. And of course, it came back saying, "Oh yeah, it's found like admin.php." I'm like, "Ooh, all right, hey, login.php." We love login pages, don't we? That's like, ooh, that's juicy stuff. This thing's find all kinds of stuff. This server's got all kinds of pages left out there. Maybe they're all open. What I found was DIRBuster was using the status code return, and my target was not just giving me the 403s, right? It was coming back saying, sorry, that page does not exist. It was getting back a regular return code with a custom error page. So DIRBuster was like, oh, I found this. No, that wasn't there. Until I went through the list, I'm going, wait a minute, it's thinking it found it, it did not. So it's sort of that false positive, unexpected results. The thing though is I had to go and verify though, right? I don't want to miss on one page. Errors, yes. This is where my students were like, I'm getting a weird error. Oh, I'm getting a weird error. I'm going to make a shirt that says that. But that's basically half of my pen test work, I think. I think my resume should state, besides being professor, is just, one of my special skills is syntax errors. So, yeah. If you didn't type that correctly, I missed something. I forgot a parameter. It just, you're running off the man page. You're looking at examples. The example you looked at, maybe it's for a different distro or different version of the tool. This is where I think this chaos starts to introduce itself. So be aware of that. You might get errors. Make some really bad errors too. So, and also tool overload. This is just the, this is, right, the Kali tool page. What tool do I even use? What the, so this is, you got to be kidding me. Then that's just Kali tool page, which actually is a great resource, by the way. That's just the Kali tool page. I ain't talking about the other immense tools out there, open source tools, user-created tools. You will find yourself collecting a set of tools over time, and that's great, right? Nmap, Burp Suite, Zap, things like that, right? Nikto. SQL map, right? So what, and I'm sure you got plenty of tools on your tool set. And that's right. Share your tools with the person you're mentoring. Share them out there. But yeah, you're like, I need something different here. I want to do a WordPress scan. WP scan's not really doing it for me. Is there another WordPress scanner? You find yourself spending 2 hours just researching WordPress scanners. This is the kind of stuff you don't expect when it comes to your pen test. That time of research and finding what you need. So tool overload can happen. So be aware of that. And yes, it's okay to Google. I think if anyone's taken my classes, I'm duffy for this. I don't expect you to memorize stuff. I think it's okay to figure out how to find, know the problem, go out and research potential answers and vet those, and then try to apply it. I think that's a really good skill set to come back with. So look for examples of tools, sample code sometimes. There's a few sites I use for that. Search help. Look at the doc. Times I forgot, I didn't look at the man page. Duh. It's like, what's the option for this? I'm Googling some option. Like, ooh, it looks like a Steam sale. It's like no, the man page, the help files, has it for me. Also, alternative tools. Now, this is actually an important thing here. So maybe I use, I'm a big fan of Burp. I do a lot of web app pen testing. So Burp Suite is definitely right up my alley. But also, I'll use Zap and also Nikto. Sometimes alternative tools are great. So more than one tool is nice to have because you can say, wait a minute, Burp says they may have found this possible, cross-site script vulnerability. Well, that's a pretty good finding, right? Something my client will want to know about. Zap also found it. That could be great. I have 2 sources showing the same result. Then maybe I'll dive in and I actually will try to execute it myself and get that screenshot. So have a couple. Again, it's a fine balance here. And I wish I had the right answer to give you, so you can walk out here going, oh man, he told me exactly what to do. Think about the Zen of philosophy, this Zen of Pen. It's not having all the right answers, it's just realizing you might not have them and having how to use what you know to move forward. Analysis paralysis. You guys ever heard that term? Yes. Spending too much time on one possible thing. I've done this. I'm guilty of this. I think I spent 2 hours once thinking, I know I can crack this session ID. And it's right. Okay, it was a base 64. Wait a minute, it's these components. Maybe it's like maybe I can hack it. And going out, it's like I didn't do anything. Again, and that's the failing thing, right? Like I think I spent. I looked at the clock. I'm like, oh my god, I think I just spent 2 hours burning through this. For what? That's the thing. For what? Maybe. What if? That's one of the fun things about pen testing. What if? What if I change that cookie setting? What if I just change that session ID by 1? But yeah, beware, you might what if too long. So keep that in mind. Step back every so often. You find yourself maybe getting frustrated. You think, well, this is rude. I think I'm onto something here. Hone in on it. I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna yell, I'm in. Root shell, here I come. Maybe not. Take a break. Sometimes you gotta take a break and just go for a walk or get some pizza rolls, man. All right? Yeah. So yeah, take a break every so often. Step back and breathe. And this is, again, breathe in, breathe out, and reflect upon what you're looking at and going, yeah, you know what? I'm going to shelf this. I have my notes on it. I got my screenshots. I need to pin this and move on. Or else I will not be successful at my engagement. I love that. And of course, the river of time. Yes, I'm speaking more Zen-like now. That always flows. All you can do is step in it and possibly drown. But in any case, scope creep, uncertainty, this time's moving on. Certain things will start popping up. Like, am I done? It's like, well, man, I think I'm done. Wait a minute, there might be more to do. It's not always clear. You might uncover more, and you go, wait a minute, there's more here than I thought. So, and as you go through that, well, I can go back and try some more. Don't forget to leave time for doing reports and summarizing your results. So we'll come to that in a second. But yeah, make sure you leave some time to summarize your results, look at your reports. There's too much left to do. I'm coming to the end of this. I got to do a report, and there's still stuff I think that could be looked at. That's okay. Lean on risk. Like, I found these 25 things, way more than I thought. All right, try to categorize them. Look, are there CVEs for them? Grab the high ones. Track those. The ones that are low info, pin them for later. You know what? That's going to go in the report as maybe something we can do next time. These can be future steps. It's okay to have that in your output. Say, you know what? I didn't finish. I found more here. I think maybe another engagement, I can come back and find these ones. Your client actually might like that. Done early. Usually doesn't happen, so. I think I got it all covered. Yeah, this actually barely ever happens. But if it does, always go back to recon, right? Go back to recon. Step back. So when I have my flow, my flow is not linear, right? It's very cyclical. It's very chaotic in itself, the flow. Going back to recon, going to the vulnerability scan, back to recon. Trying to exploit. Nope, didn't work. Go back to recon. So maybe you did get in. You pivot, back to recon, right? And so on. So if you're done early, though, always go back to recon. And I could do more. This goes back onto you remember your findings. Maybe, you know, in the scope, I found something in the scope of my target. I think I could do more with this. There was some stuff on there. It came out, but I just don't have time. Document it. Don't just keep it quiet. Put that in the interview report. Again, it may help actually. You might get an extra engagement from that, right? And oh yes, who likes writing reports? Oh, cool. There's one. Wow. Report writing, the bane of the pen tester, right? No, I got to write a report. This is where your notes are going to be very helpful. Keeping those notes, you can go in and find that signal to noise. It's all right, I see a pattern here. Here's some of the important stuff. Here's the high-risk things. Here's the things that were found that I think actually are false positive. I tried them. I don't think they work. Other tools did not show it. So your notes are going to help you here. And don't reinvent the wheel. I know I'm academic. Copying someone else's work is usually a plagiarism. Not in pen testing. Oh man, copy and paste tool output. You know how many times I've copied the Burp Suite results? That's great. You know, cross-site script is this. Oh, I'm copying that. Put it on the report. Then I'll put a link to the CVE if possible. OWASP best practices. I'm not going to go and reinvent the wheel. I'm going to show you where that wheel's at. Maybe I'll just do a quick summary. This might help you push that report out quicker. And it'll be well-formed, too. It'll look nice. And also, if you're given links to best practices, if I'm a client, I go, wow, this person that found stuff, they actually give me links to how I can probably fix it. I'm a big proponent of OWASP, by the way. I love OWASP. Clients will have bad password reset, for example. Like, hey, look at this cheat sheet for OWASP about doing password reset, by the way, one of my favorite targets. You need to improve your password reset. Here's a cheat sheet. You can give that to your developers. It speaks their language. That's important too. When it's time to talk, you might need to present. Who likes presenting? Yeah, people, all right, yeah. Well, yeah, my fellow presenters do, but not everyone's comfortable getting in front of me. Now, with Zoom, it's not so bad, but you might need to get in front of people and present what you did. Well, who are you talking to? I'm not talking about, cross-site script or, injection points to a senior manager or executive. They'd be like, I get that potato look on their face. They're like, what? Just tell me what I need to do, right? So look a way to summarize it to meet your audience. Not everyone really enjoys the low-level stuff. I'll definitely have it in my back pocket for the engineer or the other fellow security professional in the audience who wants to know more, right? And I got the juicy stuff. So keep that in mind. You might need to present. So you presented, you delivered your report. Put your pencils down. The test is over, right? Collect and reflect. A couple important things here. Just don't stop. Archive your stuff. This is where my notes app I have is great. I go back, I look at previous pen tests. Like, I think I ran that before. I ran this certain tool and I got this really good output. Or I got some results that were great. I'm gonna go back. Now, what was it though? I forgot. That was 2 years ago. So now I can go back and look. I can search through it. This is where actually having a nice tool for your notes help you search through it, right? Also, archive your stuff. And be aware, you might actually have sensitive information in your notes. PII, passwords, test accounts. So make sure you secure your archive. You don't want to be the person who have an archive somewhere, maybe use a cloud, and it's misconfigured, and you yourself are a leaker of data, right? We don't do that, so be aware of that. Reflect. Again, your successes will be great, also your failures. Don't discount those. It's because you tried something, it's awesome. Try something. Think outside the box. But when you think outside the box, you're going to bang your head against the wall a lot of times. So keep that in mind. These failures you run into could be something that could use later, or it will help guide you in your intuition. Go, oh yeah, I tried something before, I got stuck in analysis paralysis. I'm going to pin that, I'm going to move forward. This is where over time you will become a little more knowledgeable and feel better with your Zen. So, and that is sort of the Zen itself. So again, reflect back on that. And so using your intuition as a way, and your calm, to help you guide through this chaotic constraint of trying to reach your target. And again, I will leave you with this here. I say, labs are great. Labs are awesome. I use them. I'll go and I'll practice stuff, either my own lab or online lab. Labs get you knowledge, but your Zen you create, your philosophy will help guide you, help gain you wisdom. Share your wisdom with others. And I will say thank you so much. It's been awesome talking here. And if I heard correctly, right, we sold out tickets?
No.
Oh, we didn't? Oh, okay. I heard Ticketmaster crashed because I was talking. Oh, no, that wasn't me. Anyways, thank you so much. I appreciate being here.